I got an Intel Core Ultra. This is the Core Ultra 5, and it's in the ACEMAGIC F2A. Now, you've got two different varieties here. The one we're looking at is the Ultra 5 125H, but you can also get the Ultra 7 155H. This one has 32 gigabytes of RAM and a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. It's a Western Digital on the inside. And before we go too far into this, I want to show you something over here on their website that I just noticed myself. Right now, for the first 20 people, you get 40% off. First 50, 30% off. First 100, 20% off. So we've got some pretty cool coupon codes right here. They didn't pay me to make this video. I'm going to tell you how I feel about this system because I'm somewhere in the middle about this. There's a lot of things that this system does better than other systems, but there's a lot of things that other similarly priced systems do better than this system. So listen and find out if this is going to be for you based upon that. Thanks to Whokeys for sponsoring this video. Now these are OEM Windows keys. That means that you do your own tech support. You're not going to be relying on Microsoft, and they're generally locked to the hardware. We got a coupon code. Click on buy now. Put in coupon code TS25. Hit apply, and that price comes down to $17.19. Now when you compare that to the outrageous prices from Microsoft, you'd have to buy this many times to equal the price of one regular key from Microsoft. As of right now, this Windows 10 Pro key will unlock Windows 11. We also have Windows 10 Home, Windows 11, you can buy it directly, Windows 11 Home, and we have two flavors of Office. Once you're finished, all you have to do is click on your user account up here, go to your user center, click on My Purchase Orders, just view keys and codes, then you can just copy and paste your key, hit start, type activate, click on activation settings, paste it in there, click on next, and you will be activated. So head on over to Whokeys.com to get yourself an OEM Windows key at a price that makes sense. First thing I'll go through quickly is all of the different specs that we have here. Now these Ultra CPUs, they have AI engines on the inside. I'm not exactly sure how to test that. All kinds of AI stuff going on. So they've got processing power for that. If you care about that, probably the wrong place for you to be in. So, but yeah, whatever, it's got that stuff. We got Bluetooth 5.5. We've got DDR5, 16 gigabytes of that, and it's dual channel, which is nice. That's running at 4,800 mega transfers. Then we also have Wi-Fi 7, which they've said 46 gigabits per second on there, which is an aggregate of how much it can possibly do. You probably won't see more than 5 or 6 gigabits per second in the best circumstances ever, and I doubt it'll be more than 2.5 gigabits per second, but that's still really freaking fast. So Wi-Fi 7 is fast, but don't think you're gonna connect your phone and get 46 gigabits per second instantly. It's just fancy, that's all. So the Ultra 5 125H, it's got 14 cores, 18 threads. So that means 6 of those cores are your performance cores. If you want to see that broken down, well, by all means, we can bring that up right here on the screen. The Intel Processor Identification Utility 7.1.8. And here you can see all the technologies we have here. We've got the virtualization, hyperthreading, all that kind of stuff. Built in Intel SSE4, see all that, AES, yay. And here is the breakdown of the P cores and the E cores, which are the performance cores and the efficiency cores of the performance cores, and 10 of the E cores, giving us 18 threads altogether because these are hyper-threaded. And there's our CPU ID data right there. So all that's there. And then if you want to take a look at the GPU, now this has Intel Arc, which is basically just rebranded. If it has a certain number of cores, well, now it's just called Arc. But this is not like a desktop Arc that they're putting into the system. I'm sure it's going to have some similarities as far as like a little bit of DNA shared here and there. It's much faster than last generation in the games. I was surprised that it could play some of the games that it could play, but it's still not as fast as the AMD. I think that with the full implementation of these parts and like a laptop that allows it to get to its full wattage potential, maybe then it'll be something to really talk about. But most of the testing that I saw was running about 30 to 33 watts. This is a 65 watt part running at 35 watts. You know, don't want it to get too hot and go crazy. So that's one thing you're dealing with when you have these really small systems. The Arc has 7 of the XE cores and it runs at 2.2 gigahertz. Now the CPU will boost up to 4.8 gigahertz. And if you want to step up to the Ultra 7 155H, you're going to get 16 cores, 22 threads. I might, if you're really curious about AI stuff, this is not the right channel for that. I'm not an enthusiast of AI at all. But they do have integrated, you know, I guess acceleration for large language models, or smooth operation with 20 billion parameters. That's the marketing stuff. So let's look at the front here. We've got USB-C, that's 3.2 Gen 2. Then we have 2 Type A ports. Those are USB 3.2 Gen 1. And beside that we have our audio combo ports, 3.5 millimeter audio, and the power button. Flipping it around to the back, we have 2 more of those Type A 3.2 Gen 2 ports. Now those are Gen 2 actually, whereas the one on the front was Gen 1. Then we have 2 HDMI and one of our LAN ports right there. In the box, well, you got an HDMI cable, you got your manual. Then we have a bracket so you can mount it to the back of a monitor, TV, or whatever, mount it to the wall. And then our power brick. The power brick is a pretty good size as well. So I like the fact that we have a nice little area here in the back for easy upgrades. That's actually super handy. All right, we have a lot of testing to do on this one because I have not messed around with the Intel Core Ultra. It's the new thing. So I really wanted to see exactly what it could do. I'm going to kind of like explore this territory. You can come along with me and we'll do that. We'll figure out how it works in games, how it does with productivity, and really figure out exactly what it's best at. All right, Valley on high. So this ARC does a pretty good job, 47.2 FPS. You can see all the settings that we have right here on the screen. I'm noticing these stutters, and I don't know what it's from. You see that just happened? You can see the minimum went down to 8.1. I'm not sure what's causing that. We have the latest drivers installed, but we'll see if that persists. I've noticed that the fans are ramping quite a bit, so yeah, there it is again. Not sure what is causing that, and hopefully it's only going to be in this benchmark, but we'll try a few more things and see. Let's try superposition. It says we got a lot of VRAM, and we're going to do it on 1080p medium because I think that's where it'll stay above 30. All right, have a look at this loading. This took much longer than anticipated, and it keeps stopping. Like, what is going on here? I'm going to do Atto benchmark again after this is finished and just see if possibly there's something going on with the reads and writes from the... All right, so our score here is 3237, and that's not quite on par, even though this is the Intel Arc. The AMD Radeon 7 80M scores 5370, and the minimum is 32.93, and the average is 40.17, whereas the minimum here is 4.89, and the average is 24.21. Now the multi-core score is a little bit behind the latest Ryzen 7 and 9 models, but the single core score is really nice. Take a look at that single core score right there in Cinebench. So the scores are multi-core 13026 and single core 1514. So you can check that out on your system at home, or if you're doing some comparison shopping, you'll know how much horsepower this CPU has. There we go, Far Cry is detecting the correct amount of RAM. Let's test it on high on 1080p. Okay, what is going on here? Look at this. Look at those zigzags. It's so close to being playable because the average is 32 and then the maximum's 39, but then what is going on right here? It could be that we're, going way over our RAM limit. So let's just try normal. Okay, much better. So it just cannot handle high. There, we didn't have any spikes down. That's looking a lot better. So I'm thinking we're just pushing it too far and it's making it, I keep saying spike down, it keeps dropping down, but that looks a lot better. Running Cyberpunk on the medium setting, with of course the motion blur turned off because it's garbage, and we have 28.71, and it didn't dip that low either, so pretty consistent performance here, looking a lot better. So yeah, this is the best I've seen so far from an Intel Mini PC, but let's go back and try it on a lower setting than medium. All right, this is how it looks on the low setting. So starting off at 30 FPS, but it's pretty consistent in here where there's all kinds of lighting and stuff. I think the game looks really good on low, but that's just me. Now, would I play it like this? I'd probably turn a few more things down because we're dropping below that 30 FPS threshold that I like to keep games like this at, especially, because you're running around and doing stuff in this game. And there you see the average of 31.66. I was expecting more on the low setting, but I would not say that this is a system I would want to play Cyberpunk on. All right, hopping into Mario Kart 8 using the Yuzu emulator. The latest version that was available before we couldn't get it anymore. Running at 1x resolution. You'll see a couple stutters here and there as we build up our shader cache, but I think once we get all the shader cache built up, it's going to be silky smooth. So yeah, it's actually running much better than I thought it was going to run. So yeah, modern Switch emulation might be a thing for some games. And of course we've got other emulators like Ryu, Jinx, and everything that have come out or have been out for a while and are also going to be making some, improvements over the years. But anyway, this is pretty much stuck at 60 FPS, which makes me think maybe we can get away with trying some Tears of the Kingdom. So let's try that out. All right, so here in Tears of the Kingdom, we are running at 1x resolution, and we don't have any anti-aliasing going right now. We're choosing bilinear filtering. We're getting 20 to 30, depending on what's going on, but we're building a lot of shaders. I'm going to put it in handheld mode. Yes, we're in the 40s. Okay, if you can handle this stutter for the first 10 minutes of play like this, you just really got to run around, play it, and it's hard to judge what's going to happen with all these stupid shaders building all the time. I didn't mean to keep playing this for as long as I'm playing it, but I think once the shader cache gets built up, see, we're 40, 35, 40, 30, staying in the 30s and 40s. Just getting a stutter whenever the shader cache starts building, so we'll say this game's probably doable if you are able to be patient and deal with the shader cache building up. All right, can we play Baldur's Gate 3? Now, this is a very new game, you know, so I just wanted to see if we could play it. As long as it stays above 30, and even if it drops a little bit below 30 here and there, I'm not too worried. And the reason being, again, is because this is a turn-based game. When it comes to any of the combat or anything that matters, you're not going to be doing any quick movements or anything like that. So you'll be good to go. That's our Baldur's Gate on low. Notice that the wattage is around 32, 30, 31, 32. Yeah, right around in that range while we're playing. Let's look at this. We do have AV1 capabilities right here with the Intel QSV right there. So quick sync video, and that works in Handbrake. And look how fast that is. It is way faster than using just the regular CPU encode for, you know, whenever you're doing an AV1 file. Right now I'm just creating an AV1 from some of the footage that I shot, some of the unboxing of this, and it's going really fast. So we'll see how it looks when it's done and see if it's worth it. I'm running it at 22 constant quality. All right, let's take a look and see how it looks. This footage looks so similar to the original. So the original is 4K and it's 2.9 gigabytes. This one, 74.7 megabytes. So I decided to do a 4K encode of both of these so we don't lose anything. We still got 4K resolution. And this one right here, 78.17 FPS, and an encode duration of 1 minute and 34 seconds. That's the Intel QuickSync. And then down here, 19 minutes and 49 seconds. That is the SVT AV1 encoder with an average of 5.97 FPS. So let's see the file size difference. Intel file size 274. SVT is significantly smaller at 189. You know, for a video like this, I probably wouldn't worry about it too much. I would just encode everything with Intel. The SVT is significantly smaller but took much longer. So we'll leave it with that. Ada is going to load up the CPU. We're going to set it on fire here. Hit the fire icon. We're going to stress the CPU and just check the temperatures over a 15-minute span. I'll also check the sound, the noise. So let's go ahead and start this. There we go. This is about 2.5 feet away from the unit on the ground. You can really hear the fans. They're pretty loud. It doesn't ramp up like this all the time, but it's a constant noise now rather than a whirring up and a whirring down like it was before. So 84.2 decibels. The room by itself is about 75 decibels. There's a lot of stuff in here. So, all right, while this is going, the fan started making terrible noises, like grindy, awful noises. The same as the last I've tested. So they must be using the same cheap fans. I don't know why, because all right, let's see how this test is doing. So we're staying in the 60s, but as you can see here, it spikes up and down to around 70 or so. It spikes up and down. It's not constant, but we're getting no throttling whatsoever. And I'd say these temperatures are completely acceptable. It doesn't really go higher than the very, very low 70s. Despite being loud, it's nice and quiet. Maxed out at 63 right there on the watts. So not too bad. All right, we can go ahead and stop this. Let's take a look at that hard drive performance with an Atto benchmark test. And yeah, that's what we got. So right here in the middle is where it tops out. I'm not wild about these read speeds. You know, I was a little confused here because, as you can see on the marketing material, it says we have 1 terabyte at 5,000 megabytes a second. And I, decided to get Crystal disk info over here, see what it was. So this Kingston right here. All right, now this is rated on Kingston's website at 3550 on the read and 2510 on the write. Well, not quite 5,000. Go ahead and do the test here with Crystal Diskmark and then we'll see. I downloaded the Weeb version. We're going to deal with it. All right, so here's what we got on our sequentials, and that's under what it's even advertised from Kingston. Now the writes are way under what's advertised for Kingston, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Our 4K randoms also it looks like a Gen 3x4, not a Gen 4x4. So yeah, let's see here. Where's our IOPS? So the advertised IOPS on their website, 180,700. So we're not getting close to that. And then the advertised IOPS on the right on their website, 167,000. So we're not coming close to the specs of what's been identified here in this computer. So we may need to look into like updating firmwares, but you have to understand people who buy this, they're not just going to be able to go and do these things. This is a mini PC. It's not like, this is not something that I think someone is going to build a computer. I mean, you all out there, you know how to mess with these things, go into the BIOS, make sure things are installed, make sure all the Intel stuff is installed, make sure that the latest firmware is installed and all that. So as it stands, I think that ACEMAGIC either needs to put a much faster M.2 into this unit, or remove the advertisement of 5,000 megabytes a second, because that is theoretically possible. Maybe even more than that is possible if you put the right drive in there, and this is not the right drive to be you can't just advertise this stuff. You can't just say these things if you're not going to reproduce them. All right, let's see what we can do with Premiere. We'll see how it works. Let's go get some effects here, just a regular old cross dissolve. Just see how smooth that is, just so you can get an idea of what it's going to be like. I'm going to stretch it out and make it painful. There we go. Now let's see how this cross dissolve works. No, the cross dissolve was much smoother when I tried these things on the AMD Ryzen systems, the Ryzen 9 and the Ryzen 7. So it's pretty snappy. This is 4K. I'm able to move around a lot quickly. This is easy. This is great. So it's totally fine. You will notice some stuttering when it comes to the transitions, the cross dissolve. I'm not sure if that's the hard drive or if that's something else, but yeah, you do see a little bit of stuttering right there. But to be fair, I mean, even on my 5950X ridiculous CPU, I do see some stuttering sometimes, but yeah, you can edit just fine with this in Premiere. 4K footage. Let's do it at 1:1 resolution, full resolution. Scrub around, press play again. Yeah, it's working all right. Scrub to the end. Yeah, it's quick enough for me. One thing I will say is you can do a lot of stuff at the same time. I've been kind of just pushing this little machine. I've got stuff running. I'm running a virus scan in the background. I'm installing things. I've got Steam and GOG running, both downloading things right now. And it's extremely snappy. So even though I'm doing all this stuff, it doesn't miss a beat. So that's something to say about this multi-core from Intel. Well, that took an eon, an hour and 25 minutes, 400,000 items scanned, and we have no detections. So both Windows Defender doing the offline scan and Malwarebytes both came back clean. So at the end of the day, the ACEMAGIC F2A, when it's in full use, it is really loud. Too loud for someone like me to be using in the same room because I do creative work. If you have on earbuds or really good noise canceling headphones, it's going to be just fine. But the fan noise is not pleasing. It whirs and it makes a high-pitched sound. At some point I thought I was at a motocross convention because it was going up and down. If you don't care about that and you just want, speed and performance, then disregard this. I'm going to say this to all the mini PC manufacturers. I would like slightly larger mini PCs if it means slightly quieter fans and higher wattage. I think that's a big deal because the laptops are getting higher wattage. They're quieter, but of course they're bigger. They have more room to dissipate the heat. They've got big copper, plates in the back and everything. I'm talking like this one. Much quieter. I mean, it's bigger, but it's not that much bigger, but it's so much quieter. So something like this, and you get that little turbo knob. I really like this product, even though it had the fiasco with the virus. And so for me, if you want this for gaming, I'm going to say go for the AMD stuff. Similar price, actually quite a bit cheaper in some cases, like the Ryzen 7 7840HS. It's going to beat this in most tests, and that includes most multi-core tests. If you really are worried about single core performance, well, the Intel Core Ultra is going to be awesome. If you really want faster rendering with AV1 and you're good with the Intel QuickSyncs, slightly larger files, then the Intel Core Ultra is going to really be nice for you. So that's the real consideration. And I think as the Intel Core Ultra matures, we get newer products, we get newer drivers, it's going to be a nice CPU. But as it stands in this implementation, there's a lot of things that make me stand back and go, So it's hard for me to recommend this unless there's a very specific use case that's more important to you that the Ryzen doesn't do, because the Ryzen does most things better, and the mini PCs that feature the Ryzen 7 and 9 are faster than this one in almost every test other than the ones I mentioned. So we'll leave it with that. I mean, I do like it. It is better. We got to work out some rough edges on this Intel Core Ultra and these really loud fans. We'll end with the sale items. This is on sale still. I'm going to change this back to 50% off. It's on sale for $28.99, but how do you like 50% off on the best membrane keyboard you've ever used? And the nice thing about membrane keyboards, really quiet. I went and went over to Hong Kong actually, and I think this brand is from Korea, but met at a convention in Hong Kong, tried a gazillion keyboards, And this one was nice and poppy. It was the only one that it felt like budget Topra. Anyway, I'm not going to market this too much because it's inexpensive. So yeah, head on over there. This will be half price by the time you get there. All right, I'll see you all in the comments.